Hello out there. Happy Sunday. I am back in Columbus, Ohio after some interesting journeys over to Pennsylvania and State College and watching Ohio State win 44-31 in a very interesting game. But now it's time for the only thing that really matters on a Sunday. It's a conversation with Anthony Schlegel, a Sunday with Schlegs, brought to you by The Difference. Schlegs, I said last week that I would try to be more patient and evaluate four quarters, and I almost did that on Saturday. I think I made it through three. What did you make of that performance at Penn State? Because in the end, it seems pretty hard to complain about a 13-point win over the Nittany Lions.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do you want me to begin, Austin?
What did you think?
Let's go. Well, I mean, there's a lot to think. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a dog. Okay. He was really, and I guess we could take it back to the very beginning. Didn't establish a run in the first half. Had some struggles. When you can't run the football, you do become one-dimensional. But it just goes to show they knew who we were throwing the ball to, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was open all the time. He was one winning his routes. I thought Joe Klatt did a good job of kind of explaining his value to the offense. But there was a lot of stuff in there. I mean, we had turnovers on defense, struggled in the red zone offensively. But listen, that's what you're going to get when you're going against good teams. You're going to get that type of competition. It unraveled for them in the fourth quarter when you score 4 touchdowns in 9 minutes. But even in that first half, I mean, it was like it's hard to break it down, and I understand what your question is. But I guess offensively, we can start with, you can't have penalties when you're on 2-point conversion. That happened to us twice. CJ at the end of the quarter has to know that he has to get rid of that ball because there's 6 seconds left with no timeouts. And they were, I don't remember how many guys they had on the line of scrimmage. There was more than they can block. He was responsible for one of them, which was the guy that sacked him. So it's like, okay, we can't get it. It's not there. I got to throw it away, not take the sack, because now it changes the landscape of the game going into halftime. You're up 16-14 as opposed to being down 14-13. So that was kind of the first one. I also thought that there was some growth by CJ in this game. We talked about last week, your job is to go move the chains. There was a couple of times where instead of trying to press the ball downfield, he actually moved the chains one time, got a gain of 7. There was another time where, they didn't have a rush up the middle, and he took off and just got a 3-yard gain. Again, that's better than trying to force the issue or an incomplete pass. And he just picked up 3. That became second and 7. Now, the other thing that you're finding is our third down conversions aren't very good. Well, why is that? That's because you can't establish the run on first and second down, leaving you longer third downs to convert. That's an issue that we have right now. We've seen that over the last 2 games. But then defensively, the fact that we've had 10 turnovers in 2 games, the fact that every interception in this game happened by a defensive lineman is absolutely absurd. I would like to see somebody find that stat where every interception, multiple interception game, all done by the defensive line. And JTT was part of all 3 of those because the one that Harrison got was a deflection. So anyways, it was defensively, it was their worst tackling performance. We gave up too many big plays. That's kind of been a running theme in the back end. However, played the run very well. And when it mattered, our guys made the plays, especially, JT. And the game that JT had is one of the greatest single-handed defensive games that we've seen at Ohio State. So it was fun to watch him kind of have a breakout party. We've seen him be close a lot, and that's just, and the good thing is, guys, it's just going to push Jack Sawyer even that much more. But the defensive line is starting to progress, and that's fun to watch. But secure the tackling. Again, they've been tackling well all year. Lock up the tackling and eliminate the big plays in the passing game. And defensively, we're going to be fine.
Schlegs, I didn't want to be too much of a prisoner of the moment while I was standing in Beaver Stadium on Saturday and say, wow, this was the greatest defensive line performance of all time. Because, you think about some of the other ones even that we've seen just from, a Chase Young, Joey Bosa, some games that they've had even in that same building or against the same opponent. Like, there have been so many good ones that have come through Ohio State. But still, that stat sheet that he put together, as you said, the 2 interceptions of his own. One goes for a pick six, deflects another to Zach Harrison. So you keep going. You sometimes even forget about the strip sack that led to another touchdown. The massive play
immediately.
Yeah, it was such an impactful game. It's gonna go down as one of the better ones in Ohio State history. I don't know how high to put it, but you've been around this program for a long time too. How impressive was it? I know it was impressive. How high do you put it on the pedestal for what he did against Penn State?
I don't really know the stats and the depth of Ohio State defensive play, but I mean, it was very Bosa, and I would put both of them in there. It was a very Bosa-esque. It was, a Chase Young-esque type game that we've seen from an edge rusher, the athleticism that he has. And again, hats off to Larry Johnson and Mark Pantoni. I talked about it before, but you have to have the horses in the stable, and you win with talent, especially to be year in and year out a perennial contender. And that's what you're seeing right now with Penn State. Penn State is not that. They have to also develop guys. Now, they got some dudes. The 2 running backs that are freshmen, they're some dudes. Who is the guy that went off on us? Let's see, Parker Washington. Dude,
yeah.
They got some, but they also have to develop, whereas we get younger guys that, we got to keep developing them, but they can make an impact even as a sophomore, and we've seen that. So, where it stands, I don't know, but he definitely impacted that game on a significant level, because you had the one where he had the forced fumble. Oh, hang on. You have the one that he had a forced fumble that led to a Trevion Henderson touchdown. You have, I gotta decline this guy. I don't know.
It's a Sunday with Schlegel.
I know.
Everybody wants a Sunday with Schlegel.
It was a great game by JTT. But still, I mean, the beautiful thing that we have right here, guys, is there's still room for improvement. Not just him, but a couple missed tackles that led to the tight end scoring, a couple missed tackles on the goal line that led to that touchdown. We had a chance at a fumble right there on the goal line. You have CJ and some clock management issues. Again, besides the fact that they put the play clock all the way up on the second level is absolutely ridiculous. It's not at eye level. That's stupid, but that's Penn State for you. Anyways, at the end of the day, the Buckeyes win, and you have a lot of room to grow, and it's all going to come down to that November 26th showdown in the shoe.
That room for growth, Schlegel, how much would you describe your concern level for the running game right now?
Well, I am not necessarily concerned, because they're stacking the box. So it's hard to run against 8 men in the box when you're just going to say, okay, we're going to try to run against 8 men in the box. So you're going to have to put some people in there in order to do it. But if people start to do that, that's why Ryan Day and his staff are so good. They're going to game plan around that. That's why you saw a lot of those little screens on the outside. We got to shore up that blocking, because normally those things hit for 7-8 yards. And again, our passes per play, our yards per play in the passing game was over 10. That's crazy. Every time you throw the football, you're gaining 10 yards. That's astronomical. But a couple of those ones that we hit on the side, we didn't hit. We got to shore up that blocking. And normally when those hit, like those perimeter type passes, they're like, okay, they're getting 8-10 yards a pop on these. We got to kind of expand our defense, because we can't allow them to keep doing that, which then opens up the box, which then opens up the run game. So I thought that Penn State really won the line of the scrimmage in the first half, and then we kind of opened it up in the fourth. That's kind of, again, been another running theme over the past couple of days. But that's how people are going to game plan us, and we know that. They're either going to load the box to stop the run, to make us one-dimensional and see what they can do in the back end and win those battles, knowing that they're going to give up big plays, and can they kind of hang, right, and maybe them get some turnovers to capitalize on. Or they're going to try to defend the pass. And right now, everybody's thinking, well, you know what? We can make them one-dimensional and stop the run. So that's kind of the way people are game planning us, and we've seen that over the last 2 weeks. And, we're just going to have to adjust and make sure that they don't.
All right. I assume, Schlegel, we talked about JT Tuimoloau and Marvin Harrison. I know that those are on your list of the difference makers for that win over Penn State. Who else did you jot down in your notebook?
Well, I thought Tyreek Williams did a really nice job in that game. He had a 4th down stop. He had a sack. So yeah, he was a difference maker. You already mentioned I had JTT and Harrison. Another guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., So besides those guys that would automatically be a difference maker, though I want to see him not jump off sides on 2-point conversions, though the guy went into the neutral zone and he jumped off of that, maybe a couple of blocks on the perimeter, but Cade Stover has become a reliable weapon for this offense when, he's a mismatch, and he's a big guy. You saw that on the touchdown run. I mean, he broke 3 different tackles to be able to score on that play. So I'm going to say Cade as well as a difference maker.
Yeah, it doesn't look very fun for anybody to try and tackle Cade Stover, Schlegs.
No, I would like to tackle him, back in the day. But again, he's tall, long arms. It's great to watch all these guys perform. I mean, as a former player and then as a coach and being able to kind of watch and analyze the game, exactly who they are and how they're growing. And, you look at Eichenberg and Steele and how they've grown over the past 2 years. I mean, Steele had a great play on a wide receiver, and the wide receiver broke a couple tackles, but there was Steele running him down to save a touchdown. I mean, that's great effort. Those are the things that you like to see. Our secondary, our safeties are all interchangeable. They will hit you. They make plays. It's just fun to watch that growth from those guys. And then with mine being out, Trevion came in, ran the ball. I mean, again, he showed his speed on that 130-something yard touchdown run. But, you're just enjoying watching guys perform. And it was nice to see JTT have a breakout game. And, honestly, Sawyer's close, man. There's a couple of really nice spin moves, a couple of ones where the guy, Clifton, got flushed out of the pocket and he could have had a sack. But these guys are getting close. And ultimately, everybody that's out there, the concerns, don't worry about it. They can get them corrected. It's really going to matter on November 26th because that's when the rubber's going to meet the road.
And so that point, Schlegs, no coach wants to say, here we go, the next 3 weeks are all tune-ups for the rivalry. And they'll say 1 week at a time, every opponent the same. From us now that we're actually not in it on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Like Northwestern, Indiana, Maryland are not teams that should pose a real threat to Ohio State. So, put me in that situation as a player or coach. How do you manage this? Because, you have opportunities to get better, right? You should win every game, right? Like, how do you really measure it? How do you keep them engaged? Because you're not able to just flip a switch back on November 26th.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's how you keep them engaged. You can't roll out your helmet. And again, you're also competing against yourself. You're competing against, you're grading out in that game and in that performance. You're constantly trying to perfect your craft and what you do within the playbook and how you run your route. I mean, there is so many different things. I guarantee you Marvin Harrison Jr. is nitpicking every single route that he ran. Same thing with Ibuka, same thing with Cade, same thing with the offensive line. How should we have, maybe we missed this call and we should have called this guy the mic, and why? That's what you do over those 3 games. You're competing against yourself. You're competing within your unit group, and you want to grade out a champion. So in doing so, you're going to handle week in and week out as business. And that's what you do. There are no games off. Everything from here on out, it should be, yes, Ohio State, we expected them to win by that margin, and they did. But the little things that we talked about, a 2-point conversion, the penalties, the tackling, the game management, all those different things that go into this game that we just witnessed are things that you want to see corrected. And as you go, every week that we get one step better to our maximum potential as a player, as a unit, and as a team. That's how you grade yourself out. And if you didn't do those things, you failed your teammate and the team and your unit and the team going into that game, because that's how you prepare for it. You should go in there with the ultimate confidence that you're ready to go beat that team up north.
All right. It is almost time for that November when how did Tress say it, Schlegs? November is when championships are won. How does that go?
Yeah, probably something like that. Also, November is big time deer hunting season here in the great state of Ohio. I went to a Friday night football game down at Zane Trace. I've been in the deer stand. I mean, the Midwest is awesome this time of year. You have high school playoff football, you have Ohio State football, and you have the rut. It's amazing. It's a great time to be in the Midwest.
I know this is your favorite time of year. I know you've got a lot of other things to do on your Sunday, so I appreciate you taking some time to share it with us and break down Ohio State and Penn State. You're the best in the biz. 44-31, the Buckeyes were winners. That's a Sunday with Schlegs and the difference. We'll have another one to break down next week after Northwestern, an early game in the Midwest, 11 a.m. Central Time. So get everything planned up for that. Should be a real treat. He's Anthony Schlegel. I'm Austin Ward. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast for The Difference. It's a Sunday with Schlegs. We'll see you next week.